Hey there, welcome back to The Simple Truth with Stuart. Feeling overwhelmed? It's time to get organized. Focus your mind, time, workspace, and projects. Prioritize your one thing and watch your productivity soar. Hey everybody, it is so great to have this discussion with you today. My name is Stuart and this is A Simple Truth with Stuart. Now, there's something that happens to pretty much all of us, which is the chaos that's around us. And really the big question comes in, why do we have all this chaos? Why do we have this high level sense of anxiety when everything is just disorganized? Well, studies have actually shown that nearly 50% of the people around us actually feel overwhelmed just by the disorganized state of their home. That's crazy. So if you look at the people around, 1 and 2, 50 out of 100 people feeling disorganized and a little bit chaos and feeling that sense of anxiety because of the chaos of disorganized inside their homes. Now, that's just something which is in your control. However, we seem to live with it. We seem to accept it every single day. But when we elevate this to a much higher level, let's think of this in your work. Let's think of this in the projects. Let's think of this in the activities that you are doing every single day. You see, disorganized can create chaos. And when you actually have this disorganized life, that chaos can really put a lot of stress and pressure on you as an individual. Now, I remember when I started in the industry as an entrepreneur, I had so much that I had to do. There was the marketing. I had to follow up with clients. I had to create new programs. And it was becoming so chaotic in my business, I didn't know where to start. And it wasn't something that just snap of a finger I managed to resolve. It took time for me to understand how to actually resolve all of that. And then when I got on top of it, suddenly it started to become easier. It started to actually become almost fruitful for my business, getting rid of that chaos. Now, I'm sure that you've had this chaos in your life. I'm sure that you've had a project and you don't know where to start because of everything around you. So today I want to share with you 4, let's call it key areas that you can focus on that will help you in your life. Now, these 4 key areas are, well, one which I always say is probably the most important. It's your mind. We need to make sure that you are aware of what's happening up here. The second is time, and really being more aware of your time to get some kind of control in that. The third is actually the workspace that you work in, that environment that surrounds you, and just becoming more aware of that. And the fourth one is something where we put it into projects. So we don't just look at everything as chaos, we put it into its little bucket. And once it's in its bucket, we deal with that project in that bucket. So that's what I'm going to be sharing with you today. And hopefully this will give you a great insight on how to help you move, well, from what we like to call from a disorganized life to an organized life, to a life that has levels of stress and anxiety, to a life that feels calm and relaxing. And that's what we're going to cover in today. So I hope you're going to enjoy this because I implemented this in my life, both professionally and personally. I've helped a number of my clients with the exact same formula. And the most amazing results starts to come out. You will see an immediate effect, in fact, if you put it into action, not only in your personal life, but in your professional life, which really is going to go a long way. So let's get into the very first key area that I want to talk about, and that's your mind. You see, one of the biggest problems that we have with our mind is it has just got so much happening. You know, it's actually been told that we have around about 100,000 thoughts every single day going through our mind, and we're thinking about this. You're going onto social media, you're actually reading a newspaper, you're watching something on television, your phone is giving you a message, an email is popping up. Suddenly you can smell something burning in the kitchen, your stomach is feeling hungry. There's a lot of chaos that goes around. And really, it does start with your mind on how to actually get your mind to become a lot more calmer and more focused. Now, when we look at trying to organize our mind, there's three areas that I'd like you to look at. And the very first area is this mindset shift. And what I mean by mindset shift, it's moving from a mindset where you feel you know everything. You feel that you can do anything. So it's moving from what we refer to as a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. And the big thing about a growth mindset is it actually helps to create a level of structure in your life. When you go through a process or a program or steps to get to a desired outcome, especially a learning outcome, you will actually follow a certain level of structure. You'll start, if it's a learning program, you'll start at module 1. You won't start at module 7. Then you'll go to module 2 and so forth as you're going through. But while you're going through this, you're actually giving a lot of energy into your brain. You're actually getting that growth mindset where, most importantly, you're actually going to learn how structures of learning can actually help you to calm and relax your brain. So moving from that fixed mindset where I know everything, because ultimately when something does land in front of you and you go, I don't know how to do this, you could be fixated on that, and everything else that jumps around starts creating chaos. Where with a growth mindset, when something lands in front of you and you go, I don't know how, well, you're not going to feel that level of high stress or anxiety. You're going to go, well, let me quickly learn about it. Let me see how I can resolve it. And that actually starts to calm and relax the actual mind. The next is decluttering your thoughts. As I mentioned, you have on average 60,000 thoughts that happens every single day. And what you need to do is you need to declutter it. Now, the methods to declutter is quite challenging for many, but it's something that you can do every single day. So you can either sit and do meditation. Now, meditation is sitting in a very calmed, relaxed, being able to be one with your body. And ultimately, the best level of meditation is to stop thinking, is to stop having thoughts. Now, that's extremely difficult. Why? Well, we've got sensory organs. We've got our skin that feels change of temperature. We've got our ears that's consistently hearing things around us. We've actually got our nose that is smelling aromas that's happening around us. We can feel vibrations. And all of that is creating these thoughts. And ultimately, as you're going through this meditation journey, you're learning how to take control and not be affected by the outside. So meditation is one, it's a challenge, but you can definitely do it. I know you can do it. The second one to declutter your mind is one that I use with a lot of my clients, especially business executives that are battling to sleep. You see, they go through the night and they wake up at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And the reason they're waking up is because they're consistently thinking. Their brain is working overtime. And ultimately, I give them this very simple solution. It's called journaling. And journaling is just writing down what you've experienced in the day, how you're feeling right now, and what you want to do the day ahead. So journaling is such an important process to help declutter, because in essence, what you're doing is you're moving it from your brain, from the subconscious, the conscious mind, and you're putting it onto paper. And amazing things starts to happen when you do that. You actually start to remove the clutter from your brain. So the second one, declutter, go ahead and get into that meditation and try and get one with your body. The second is journaling, where you'll be able to write down and declutter through this process. And then the final one, which is organizing your mind, is having clarity on your goals. You see, so too often we wake up in the morning and we really don't know what we should be doing first. We actually don't have an idea of what we should be doing in the day or the week ahead. So having a goal, having something where it's got clarity, you know what needs to be done, that actually helps you to give you purpose in the day. It also helps you to select the activities of what you're going to start with. So sit down and say, where do I see myself in a year? Where do I see myself in 3 months? Where do I see myself at the end of this month? Where do I see myself end of this week, end of this day? You see, goals is not about having this very big goal someday in the future, which is an absolute dream and it's going to be a magnificent thing when I hit it. When we break it down into its smaller components, a goal is giving us clarity, these steps. In fact, we call them milestones towards those goals. But the milestones are so important to have clarity on what they are. Because in essence, a milestone is just a smaller version of your bigger goal. It's leading towards that. So organizing your mind, it is so crucial. It's making sure that you've got that growth mindset, that you want to learn how to improve yourself every single day. Decluttering your mind with meditation, making sure that you're journaling what you did today, what you're doing right now, how you're feeling, and what you want to do in the next 24 hours. And then it's actually setting up those goals, making sure that there is clarity so that you know what you're going to be doing, because the activities that you do right now, it's going to lead towards achieving that goal. Now, that's the first one, which is mind. Now, the second one is organizing your time. And this is where, when I have conversations with a number of my clients, they always say to me, Stuart, there's two things I want in life. I want more money and I want more time. And here's the most amazing thing. We're all given the privilege to have 24 hours in a day. The big question that comes out is, why are some people able to produce more in the same amount of time, 24 hours, than others who battle to even get it done in a week? And the big question comes down, well, what are they doing different? Well, they're organizing their time. And one of the key things that we do when we organize time is to know what you're doing. I know it's straightforward and simple, but it's to know what you're doing. In fact, what you do is you track your time. What you want to find out is, what are you actually doing in the day? Because so many times we're running on autopilot. We wake up in the morning, we get dressed, we have breakfast, we go to work, everything just goes on autopilot. By the time we get home and someone says, how was your day? You can't actually remember your day. You're actually reflecting back and thinking, well, what did I do today? And those days are on autopilot, are days where you're actually creating more chaos because you're not in control. So what do you need to do? Well, start breaking down your time. I work with clients and I tell them, create a page with this chart on this particular page, these blocks. And across the top, it says Monday through to Friday. And then have them as either half an hour or 1 hour increments down the left-hand side. Started at 8, 8:39, all the way down to when you're actually getting home. Now, if you're doing it in half an hour increments, it means that every half an hour, you're going to reflect on what you've just done. And if you find that you're in a business where your time actually goes for about maybe 2 hours in one activity or 1 hour in one activity, then make those incremental blocks an hour. But what you will do is you start your morning and at 9 o'clock, you go back to that little journal and you reflect, what did I do in the last hour? Then you carry on and it takes you about 2 minutes. Quick, what did I do? What did I achieve? Then at 10 o'clock, 11, you go through the day. And at the end of the week, you can actually reflect back on what you're actually doing. Now, you're going to be very surprised on what you're doing. And when you start looking at it, you're going to realize there's a number of activities that you're doing in the day that you shouldn't be doing. There's a number of activities that you're actually out of control. In other words, somebody has spent an hour talking to you and you haven't been able to get onto your task, which is now giving you, well, an hour short in the day. You see, when you time track, ultimately what you're doing is you're making yourself more aware of what you're doing in that particular day. And the more you become aware of it, the more consciously you're going to say, hey, I'm not going to be doing that at 9 o'clock. I actually want to do something else. And you're going to replace that. And you're going to start finding that you're going to become a lot more productive just by implementing that. So organizing your time by tracking your time. The second is once you've been able to track your time, you actually highlight what is it that you're doing that helps you to get closer to your goals. So what is it that you're doing that's getting you closer to your goals? And the great thing is once you've got this table in front of you, you can take a highlighter and you just highlight all those activities that's moved you closer to your goal. And then all you do is you block them together, because you know that if you focus on those activities in the morning or at a certain time, you're going to be moving closer to your goals. So all you do is you now create a time block. You take those elements, you put them into your calendar, and you say from 8 until 9, 9 until 10, this is exactly what I'm going to be doing. And when you actually do that, suddenly you've got control. Suddenly you're starting to get activities that moves you closer to your desired outcomes. And that becomes one of the most amazing things when you start working with it. Now, a big question that's always come through to me from clients is, Stuart, that's great. I've done this time tracker. I know what I'm actually doing, but how do I know what I should be doing or what I shouldn't be doing? How do I know if it is moving me closer? Because as much as this might not be getting me closer, I have to do it. It's a requirement. I've got somebody who's breathing down my shoulder and asking me how to do it. And here there's a simple tool. The tool is called the Eisenhower Matrix. So you can Google the Eisenhower Matrix, and it's very straightforward. The Eisenhower Matrix works like this. It has these little blocks, and you actually look at something and say, is it urgent or not urgent? Well, it's a simple question. This activity, is it urgent or is it not urgent? Oh, well, if it's not urgent, it falls into this category. If it is urgent, it falls into this category. But we take it one step further. We then ask ourselves the question, is it important or is it not important? And when you work with this Eisenhower matrix, and I suggest that you Google it and have an idea of what it looks like, when you've got this Eisenhower matrix and you work with it, the most amazing thing is going to start to happen because, well, it's important and it's urgent. Well, then you need to do it now. It needs to move up on your actual schedule. If it's not really important, but it is urgent, it needs to be done now, but it's not important to you, well, then you can delegate it to somebody. You can give it over to somebody else to say, look, I need you to do it now for me so that you can actually focus. But what happens if it's also important, but it's actually not urgent? Well, then you can make this decision. When should I do it? So it's not actually important, and well, it's important, but it's not urgent. You just decide. And the final one is, well, it's not important and it's not urgent. Delete it. Get rid of it. You do not have to do it, type of thing. It really gets put right to the bottom of the list. So really what you're doing is you're putting it on the scale. It's important and urgent. You do it now. Well, it's not important and it's not urgent. Push it to one side. You see, when you start working in the structure, you're going to actually find out all those little bits and pieces, all those tasks and activities that's going to move you closer to that desired outcome. So remember, by organizing your time, you're actually getting back control. You're able to start moving forward in a structured manner. And that actually removes chaos, because when you actually get into your work environment, you know what to do. You can sit at your workspace and you can do activities 1, 2, 3, 4. And in fact, here's an amazing thing. In fact, when you start working like this, you're going to start having more time in the day. And the reason for it, you've got rid of all those distractions. You've got rid of all those things that is not important and not urgent, all those elements that are urgent, but it's not actually important. You've delegated them out to somebody. And you're going to be focusing on what's urgent, what's important, and you're going to be focusing on your life in that regard. So here's time that you actually can get back, and it becomes amazing. Now, the third key point that I want to share with you is really the physical workspace, that environment where you actually sit down and you do your work. I have this scenario where I sit with clients and I say, please take a picture. I want you to stand up behind your desk. I want you to take a picture of your desk. And then from that picture, I want you to then write down on a piece of paper and start identifying everything that's on your desk. So there's 3 pens, there's a notepad, there's a keyboard, there's a mouse, there's this piece of paper, there's this booklet, there's this, and you start writing down. Now, if you start getting to a point where it becomes amusing, where you start seeing, man, I've still got 3 coffee cups that have never been removed. I've actually got my lunch from yesterday still on the corner of my desk. I've actually got this file that, oh, I thought it was lost, but now I've seen it. You see, when your desk, when your workspace environment becomes cluttered, the brain, remember the eyes are the connection to the brain, they're just seeing all of this all over the place. They don't know what to focus on. So while you are trying your best to say, I need to do this activity, your eyes are suddenly going, hey, there's 3 coffee cups. They need to be going because there's ants or there's some insects that are growing out of it. And, oh, that lunch, it's not smelling too great. You see, once you've got an environment that's cluttered, you're going to find it very difficult to focus. So I have a number of my clients that actually have 2 desks. They have one desk, which is their focus desk, where they actually focus their work and only what is required is on that particular desk. And their second desk, which is normally a standing workstation or a shelf off to the one side, is where they put all of the work that's not required to be worked on right now, so that we separate the environment. And the reason for that is so that you can focus on that one activity. You finish, you can get up, you can move it, you can then set yourself up for your next activity, and you focus on all of that. It is just so important to be focused on what is required and get rid of all of the clutter that can come around you. Now, another part of your workstation is to make sure that it is comfortable. I've seen with clients, they tell me, oh, Stuart, I've got back problems. My back is stiff. Or, you know what? I get this pain that's in my neck all the time. Or, you know what? It's cold. I'm always cold, or it's very hot. You see, the environment needs to be comfortable. It needs to be relaxing. Make sure that you've got a comfortable chair to sit on. Make sure if it's a standing environment that you've got a comfortable platform that you're standing on. If it's air conditioned, make sure it's at the temperature that you feel comfortable in. And one of the things is make sure that you dress comfortably. So too often, a lot of my clients, they dress for the occasion that's like having almost a celebration with their clients, but they're very uncomfortable in what they're dressed in. When you're sitting down to do those activities, make sure it's not only the environment that you're going to be seated in, but that you're also dressed in a manner that makes you feel comfortable, so that in your work, you don't have any distractions of discomfort that can say, I just can't work here anymore. Make sure that, And lastly, when you're looking at your workstation, make sure that everything is accessible. You know, I've had it with clients whereby they say to me, hey, Stuart, I get into something and then, oh, wait a minute, I need this particular file, or I need a certain array of pens. Make sure that you actually prepare before you go into any of those activities. Make sure that your desk is set up that when you come in, you're comfortable and you can work. that you don't have to be distracted by being pulled away from that environment. And make sure what's in front of you is only what you're focusing on. Don't worry about anything else but what you're focusing on. And then finally, the fourth key point that I want to share with you is what we refer to as projects. And I said in the beginning, it's when you've got a collection of so many items, so many things to do. What we do is we put them into different buckets. And those buckets are regarded as projects. Now, how do we actually do this? Well, we can actually have a look at something simple. Well, and I'm going to get this out for you. You need to make sure that you contact all of your clients. You need to make sure that you've updated your databases. You need to make sure that you have the lunch appointment with your new clients. You need to make sure the delivery goes out. You need to make sure that your kids are collected from school as well as dropped off at the actual extramural activity after school. You've also got to pick up some groceries on the way home so that you can have dinner. Oh, and by the way, you need to make sure that you get yourself a new shirt for the new appointment that's coming up. Now, there's a whole array of activities that's suddenly been lumped in front of you. And ultimately, we put all of that into one bucket. Where do we start? What's more important than the other? Well, it could be work, it could be picking up the kids from school. What we tend to do is we try to put everything in one project. And what we need to do is we need to break it down into different projects. And by breaking it down to different projects, it starts with, well, let's make what's professional and what's personal. That is the big project. So we can actually decipher, well, the kids, getting the shirt, getting the actual food, that's all going to go into the personal buckets. And that will be pushed to one side. When do we adhere? When do we actually look at that personal bucket? Well, we can look at our time schedule and say, well, between 2 and 3 is when my personal time will be done. So that you can go into that project just to focus on those activities. And the same with your professional side. You'll have all of that that's bundled into that professional. But within these buckets, you then start breaking it down even smaller. You can use that Eisenhower matrix to figure out what is more important than the other. Or you're actually looking at what activities. I've got a bucket which is for contacting my clients and dealing with my clients. Everything that I need to do with my clients, I'll put it into that particular project so that I have an understanding of what needs to be done. Everything that has to be done within the office, the administrative side, can go into another bucket. So we have all of that together. Now, this now starts to break things down into more control. You're going to start seeing how the chaos of everything all over the place becomes organized. And through this particular process, you'll actually find that you'll be able to go through this in such a simple manner because you're going to look at it and say, well, I need to sort out my clients. It's very important. So I can go into that bucket and have a look at those activities that are needed to be done. Once I've completed that, I earn the right to then go to my administrative buckets, and I can start working through those particular elements. You see, when you're working in a similar bucketed environment, so I'm focusing on clients, all the different activities, calling clients, giving updates, doing follow-ups with clients, my mindset is more relaxed. I'm not focusing on follow up with the client, but then I need to make sure that the deliveries go out from an administrative point of view and jumping all over the place. So create these professional and personal buckets. Take the elements and break them down into smaller buckets within those big buckets so that you're able to work in a manner that's going to give you more focus when you're actually going forward. So ultimately, projects is all about organization. It's all about taking everything that you've got to be done in a day and breaking it down into smaller buckets, smaller projects. And once you've completed those particular projects, you can actually tick them off. And something amazing starts to happen. When you start ticking off these particular projects, you're going to start feeling this level of success. You're going to start feeling like you're in control and you've got organization in your business and professional life that just supersedes everybody around you. You're going to start waking up in the morning with more energy because you're not feeling disorganized. You're not feeling stressed. You don't have high levels of anxiety. You're going to be able to walk through your life in control. So when we actually summarize all of this so that you get an idea, one, we need to organize our mind. We need to make sure that our mind is clear, it's decluttered. We need to make sure that we know what we're doing as far as our time. We need to organize our time. We need to be in control of our time. We need to organize our workspace, that environment that is affecting our eyes, our nose, our ears, our sensory organs, so that they are not pulling us away and making us feel distracted. And then we take all of those tasks and we put them into these projects. We put them into these little bundles and we focus on one at a time until it's completed. And then we move on to the next. And when you go through this particular process, ultimately, what you're going to feel is a much higher level of relaxation, not only for your professional life, because remember, when you feel almost stress and anxiety in your professional life, it overflows into your personal life. And when you've got those stresses and anxiety in your personal life, well, I don't have to explain what could happen thereafter. So make sure that you are in control and make sure that you're changing from a disorganized life to an organized life. That's it for today's episode on The Simple Truth with Stuart. Remember, organization is the key to unlocking your full potential. Focus your mind, time, workspace, and projects, and watch your productivity soar. Until next time, stay organized and stay inspired.